Welcome to another episode of the Dante or Die podcast. I'm Daphna, the co-artistic director.
I'm Terry, the other co-artistic director.
So, Terry, you are on your own for the first interview today.
Yep.
I'm really intrigued to hear it, actually. I
talked
always
about you a
wonder
lot.
how... no, really. I always wonder how it feels to be so up close to an audience.
We should do it one day.
Mm,
Let's get you
I'm
into
not sure.
one.
I'm not sure I will.
Yeah, because you're always directing. Well, I think you should try it next time.
I think I'll stick to directing.
No, let's get you in the next one.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah, so we're going to think about like how we work with the audience and like how the audience's roles in different ways affect the narrative, whether they're up close, whether they're flies in the wall, whether we're leading them, whether they're part of things. And I really like the stuff about the intimate performance stuff.
Can't wait to hear it.
So today we don't have Daphna, the director. It's just us performers, actors, makers in the room together. And I've got amazing people with me. Incredibly talented Fiona Watson.
Hi.
Hi, Fiona.
Oh, gone all red now.
And the very charismatic Elan James.
Thank you.
How are you both doing?
Yeah, good. Kind of excited to have this chat, actually.
Yeah, so am I. I was saying I love listening to podcasts. So
Yeah, we had a good chat about podcasts last night.
yeah. Being on one's quite exciting.
Do you know, together, I've performed with you guys in 5 different shows.
Wow,
Quite a lot of shows.
that's a lot.
And I thought we'd jump straight in at the deep end and talk about intimacy to start things off.
Go for it.
Yeah. I was thinking about a moment in User Not Found, which is our show that is performed in cafes. And about an hour into the show, I'm a bit drunk and I'm grief-stricken, and I've just seen this image of Sheryl Crow talking to me, and I'm exhausted. And we kind of devised this moment where I would kind of slide towards an audience member and put my head on their lap. And the first time I performed it, I was really terrified about, like, how is this person going to cope with this? And it was in Ipswich. I remember being really sweaty myself as well. And being like, oh, how's this going to go? And like laying my head on her lap. And this woman just like patted my head gently.
Oh, that's really sweet.
And it was really sweet. And I was like, yes, it worked.
Yeah. And then you kill the moment because you're like, yeah, go on.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
And in Take On Me, I had to take all my clothes off briefly in the changing rooms. And we decided that we'd do the full change. Because how could you not? Because the audience were also in the changing room with me. So,
Yep.
Literally right next to you.
yeah,
Some
literally.
of
I
them.
mean, imagine the size of a quite small sports centre changing room with 30 people. I was just worried that people get shocked and storm out or something, because not only was it nudity, but it wasn't even nudity on stage. It was like nudity right in front of you, you know.
Did it start to feel different after you'd done it a few times?
Yeah, I got a lot more used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was because people didn't freak out.
But how
Yeah,
does the
yeah.
actor in you cope with that? Because at the same time, you're delivering quite a heartfelt monologue.
Yeah, because you have to. You do have a split brain as an actor. You have it's kind of better than that. You are being truthful as an actor, but within a given set of circumstances. So the given set of circumstances are that there are 30 other people packed in the room with you. We decided fly on the wall. So for our characters, those people they weren't there.
Right.
And you've already accepted that. So you just kind of behave as truthfully as possible within that thing. So there's that, oh my God. And then immediately you're like on to the next second, and the next second is the next part of your speech, or it's the relationship with the other performer. Or, do you know what I mean? It's sort of, I don't
And
know.
it's so interesting, isn't it? Like if you let your brain see you from outside for a couple of seconds,
Yeah.
you have to like whip it down somehow, don't you?
Yeah,
and go
you
like,
can't stay there.
I need to stay in this moment. I need to stay in this moment.
Yeah.
I've had two really interesting intimacy experiences, both in the same scene of a Dante or Die show. In Handle with Care, where we did at storage units. In my scene, I was playing the lead character's boyfriend, and each scene takes place at a different chapter in her life where she's using a storage unit and her life is, moving. And And when I come into the room, it's all passion and we're like kissing and up against the wall. And but obviously the wall was with the audience are on the wall. And so sometimes there wasn't a space for us. And I remember Amy just kind of happily having me leaned up against an audience member while I was kissing her. It was so like, it was really weird, but also the audience wasn't there for me. So I had to just get on with what the kiss was, which was really weird, quite funny. But the other time in that same scene, it's my favourite theatre story because it became the most real scene I'd ever done. Because one thing, not being in an auditorium and not having that fourth wall, we're playing the fourth wall because we're playing the audience aren't there, right? But we're in the real space. And at the end of that scene with Amy, my character gets really jealous about a cassette tape he's found.
Physical space.
What were you looking for? That is from her younger brother who died when he went travelling.
I was just sorting through my things.
No, you were looking for something in particular.
No, I wasn't.
Was it this? It says, please come with me, love M. He's got a shit taste in music.
Give me the tape.
No, who's M?
Just please give me the
Is
tape.
it him? Is it Matthew?
No, of course not. Now, where did you get that?
It's full out your bag.
Oh, it fell out or you fucking took it out?
Don't try and turn this around.
You've taken it
Don't
out,
you
Mum.
dare
Like,
try and
you've
turn
gone
this around.
through my
You
choice.
always do that.
No,
It's
stop
manipulative.
it. Let me speak and calm
Let
down.
me fucking
Oh my
speak.
God, look, it is not Matthew. Of
But
course
it's someone,
it
isn't
would have
it?
to be fucking someone, wouldn't it, Dan? Dan, stop.
So who is he then?
My brother. Made that for me when he went travelling.
And I don't know that it's from him, so I think it's from another guy who said, love you lots, M. And so I'm furious. I found this tape, and this argument gets really heated. It's about 10 o'clock at night in Shoreditch in this storage unit. And as she's like defending herself but not revealing what it is, I crush this tape in my hand, and she screams like, no, and I throw it on the floor. And then all we heard from outside the room was, hello. And we were just staring at each other and we froze because the audience doesn't know this isn't part of the play. And I was like, the guy was like, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine. And then there was a pause because obviously that wasn't the answer he was looking for. And so he asked again. And then both Amy and I at the same time shouted, we're fine. And then you just heard his footsteps walk off. And we're like, okay, we can carry on with the scene. Nobody knows that was supposed to happen. But it was amazing because that would have been perhaps the real thing that happened if that was a real life situation, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that moment.
Yeah.
And that you and Amy like gluing eyes to each other going, what do we do?
Yeah.
Which the audience don't know that's what's happening with you as actors.
Yeah, as far as they're concerned, that's another character outside and it's part of the play.
You should have written it in. It was quite a good moment.
It
Quite
was, wasn't
dramatic.
it? Yeah.
But that's it, isn't it? Those moments when the outside world intrudes on your performance because it is site specific and you're not in a carefully controlled theatrical environment.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Because often actors are quite precious about what they've rehearsed and it's going to be like this and I want it to look like this and I want to feel like this every time.
Yeah. But personally, I don't think I'm a precious actor because of how I started. So when I left drama school, I went into Warhorse as an understudy, and that's because it's such a big ensemble show, and there's what we call knock-ons every day, which is this person is slightly injured for this lift, or this person's on holiday. So your show is always different, and you're always just getting it together and just going on and do the thing and make sure the show works. And the same was when I played my covers. It was like you might get half an hour rehearsal before the show starts. So I never felt precious. In my introduction to the industry, I never felt precious about my work in that sense because it was never going to go the way I wanted it to in the first place. So site-specific didn't have that. It wasn't different for me in that sense.
For me, the whole point of theatre is that it's live, that we're in this room together and we're sharing this space. And the moments that we started doing that early on, it just felt like that's even more heightened in this kind of work.
Yeah.
And you can't get away without it being live, and you can't I love the idea that the audience will affect every single performance, and then it will be different, and that's a joy,
Yeah.
and that's different depending on what performances it is. But like in Take On Me, it was drastically different depending on the leisure centre, depending on the participants that we had in the guest cast or the community choir that we were working with. It was hugely different. And I guess as a maker or as an artist, it teaches you about what the importance of it is.
Yeah.
Because you have to drill down so hard to find the importance and the reason that this exists.
Yeah.
Right.
And also it's just really fun. Like it gets people who might nod off in a theatre to smile or to feel a bit like, oh, I didn't expect to feel anything in this show. Or I really feel like it has this power that TV doesn't have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it is true. You're involving them in a direct relationship with you. They can't sort of not have that. Well, and even if they leave, they still have agency. You know,
Yeah.
they choose to be there or they don't.
Mm.
It's not like they're passively sitting in a dark theatre with seats, too scared to walk out because everyone
That's
will
right.
see them
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
They can go if they want.
And I think people enjoy the live performance of actors when they are really close to them. Like there's something quite electric about it.
Yeah.
Especially with the fly on the wall nature of like I Do and Take On Me. It feels like you're, and Handle with Care, you're peeking in on people's lives.
Which is fascinating.
And I think there's an enjoyment as an actor to doing this thing really close up to people. And you can also feel their engagement with it or not. You can see tears in their eyes. I remember in User Not Found, it was really tough actually, that there was a moment where I accepted that my partner has died, and there's this beautiful speech that I deliver, and at the end I just stop and it's really quiet for the first time, and right behind me there was a woman who was really sobbing, and I could tell obviously she'd experienced something,
Oh, yeah.
and she was right there, and the sound of her crying was picking up on my microphone. I could feel it, and I was able to just look at her and say, I get it.
Oh, wow.
And it was really special, and it felt like a really important moment as a performer, because that's kind of what we're doing it for, isn't it? We're doing it to shine light on these things that we all experience and to reflect what's going on in the world or in our little lives. Or
Wow. That's incredible you got to share the moment with her. Yeah, because normally, more so on screen, but even in a play, even if it resonates with you, it's separate from you. And that moment was between the two of you.
yeah, if you're talking to other actors who are about to perform in the first site-specific show, what things should they do or think about?
The two things that spring to my mind is kind of really work on your lines. Don't
Yeah.
just even if you're a good improviser or something, don't assume that will be the case, because it won't be, because other things change. And the other thing is, like, if you have a journey to go on in the on the site that you're working on, make sure that you walk through your journey a few times, so you really know where you're going from A to B to C. Because I've messed up a couple of times and kind of gone to the wrong scene, and then it's obviously then you run very fast back to the right scene, where everybody's slightly wide-eyed waiting for you to turn up. You know, it's important to know where you're going.
God, tip from me. I guess it's a different, what would you call it? You were talking about it earlier with like the space that you're performing in. You go to the back of your auditorium, that's like where you're mentally performing
bubble,
to.
yeah.
I guess it's being aware that if say you're familiar with theatre, that you have to drop that brain and just pick up the one that's in the specific room that you're in.
Yeah.
Because acting to the gods in a storage unit isn't going to work. It's going to feel really weird.
Yeah.
But the beauty of that is you get to just really be in what that literal moment is, and the audience are paying enough attention that they pick up all of it anyway.
True.
It might be different, I guess, in a massive site-specific space. perhaps then you take on more of that theatre mentality where you're performing to somebody who won't hear you or won't quite read what's on your face as well further away.
Yeah.
But generally in a small space, you just get to just live that moment as it would be. So letting go of, I guess in a sense, letting go of theatricality, because
Yeah.
it won't serve you there necessarily.
Also, that people aren't out to get you; they want to love you. Like the people who come because they want to have a good time and they want to love you. And
Even the critics and the producers.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the critics. And the producers.
Yeah.
So, Terry, what would your tips be to people coming to site-specific work as performers for perhaps the first time?
I think I would say challenge yourself and go for that challenge. When you're feeling uncomfortable, just push yourself through it.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have to get out of your comfort zone, and to really think about what the audience are experiencing, and putting yourself in the position to give them the best experience of that.
Is that when you say thinking about what the audience are experiencing, is that partly your director brain as well there?
Oh, maybe it is. But whenever I work with actors in this kind of mode, I try to get them to think about what the audience are experiencing, because then you as the actor can kind of serve that better. I think often when you're in stalls in a theatre, people don't even think about what the audience are experiencing, because they're just thinking about what they're doing and putting it out there. Whereas actually, if you put yourself in the position of the audience member, then suddenly you're empathetic. You're like, oh, that might be uncomfortable for them, but I could do, if I do it slightly more like this,
Right, yeah, I see.
they'll probably really enjoy it. Or like you were saying, you're kind of winning them over early on, teaching them the rules. And if you kind of, as an actor, can think about what their experience is going to be, and part of your job is to serve that experience, that's a really useful thing to consider in your process.
Yeah, that's a really good answer.
It is a
Like
really
that.
good answer.
Thanks. I'm a site-specific theatre specialist, don't you know? Well, thank you so much, both of you, for coming and chatting. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for
It
having me.
really has. It's been lovely.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Well, like going on stage anyway is fucking scary and terrifying. Every time we do it, you've got a new show and you barely know what you're doing, and you're going, why have I put myself in this position? And then you get this kind of fizz of energy from being in this moment and sharing this thing. And actually, Skin Hunger was like beyond anything else I've experienced as a performer,
Because it was one-on-one.
it was one-on-one. It was over and over, and it was really emotional. It was like we hadn't been touching anyone, and then I was holding hands with people, and people were crying on me, and I was hugging them, or they were looking at me like they fucking hated my guts. And that was actually really exhausting. I don't know if you remember at the end of we were doing 6 shows a day, which was doing 18 times of the same speech, but obviously different every moment. We were exhausted.
I remember, because you were also coming to that performance from a very emotional place of also not touching anyone, and also coming in the middle of the pandemic to perform it.
Yeah. So that was ridiculously exhausting. But there's something kind of magical about it, which I guess most actors thrive on. That, but I guess with this intimacy, and you're sharing this moment, you're looking in somebody's eyes, or you're feeling how they're feeling. There's something just so human about this exchange that's happened. It's artificial, but there's something magical and exhilarating about it. Because it feels a bit dangerous, and it feels a bit that we don't get this all the time in life.
That's
it's hard to
interesting.
explain it.
No, I think it was a very good explanation, actually. Next up, we're going to hear from Anna Richmond, who's a performer. She worked with us for a decade. And then she was also a rehearsal director when we
I
came
love her
to
so much.
make Take On Me. Yes, me too.
Because you came in as a performer and you had a lot of knowledge from being really up close to audiences. What are the things that were key to pass on to people that you've worked with as a rehearsal director, community participants?
I tried to always tell them that performing's really liberating. I don't think I ever said it in those words, but I wanted to pass over a sense that it would be fun to do it. Like, if you go and really surprise loads of people because you show up in a dressing gown poolside and sing like a massive 80s banger and then jump into the pool, like, I think you will surprise yourself, and I think that'll be fun. I think it is quite fun. I think that's why I like site-specific work, is because it is unpredictable and it is a bit rogue.
And can you think of some Take On Me challenges? I remember, for example, we couldn't rehearse when we made it originally, so I'm sure it happened on the road, but we had a female singer who performed in the male changing room and a male singer in the, but so we could never rehearse them until the 5 minutes before the show in the same space. What were the biggest challenges for you in working on those real sites with community members?
Sometimes you get somewhere and what looked like it was going to be 2 rooms was 1 room. So then you had to make it into 2 rooms. Like that was quite hard because sound wise you could just hear the other scene clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot because I guess like every space is different. Sometimes you'd be like, oh, the transition from this room to the next room takes about 2.5 minutes longer than it did last time, and that throws everything out of whack timing wise. Loads of stairs, lifts, stair timing. How long does it take this group to get down loads of stairs whilst this person comes down in a lift, but then this scene has a wheelchair user in it, so then they need to go up in the lift at the same time as they're coming down. That sort of logistical.
And what were the strategies to overcome these? Because
brain power. Sitting down, thinking about it and doing the work, I think, is always the answer, but it always means that you're up really late at night.
Logistical theatre, we used to call it, don't we?
Yeah, but I like logistics. I don't know. Just everyone who works inside Pacific Theatre like logistics, or is it just the way you guys do it?
I think it's inevitable, isn't it? Because you have to deal with real life locations that you can't just change and say, oh, we'll just make that work for us. Like you said earlier, like you have to figure out a way to make what you want to do work within these parameters.
Yeah.
And it's also like very team focused. I remember you'd go off and you'd kind of try and make a plan, and then you'd come back and give it to us as well as the technical stage managers, and then we'd all go, right, let's test it out. There's a lot of planning and then testing.
Yeah. It's like engineering. I imagine that's what engineering is like.
Just like engineering. Sure. Putting a headband and leg warmers in an 80s looking leisure centre, it's just like engineering.
You make it sound like it's a fun thing to do, Daphne, but it isn't. It's complicated.
It is very complicated, I agree.
There's something very satisfying when it works and the audience don't realise how much work has gone into that.
Do you ever wish that you could be like, guys, at the end of a show, do you just want to tell people how hard it was?
I think the reason I do worked is because people could see because they saw all the different rooms and they knew it's all happening at the same time. There was something about the form and the content marrying really well that the audiences appreciated. Appreciated the work that went into it and how hard all the performers are working. That was part of the joy of it. And
also because in every cycle, we as performers, we all gave each other the cues throughout, didn't we? There was no stage management. It was knocking on doors, it was shouting in the corridor, it was phone calls that we were all doing as performers. And as they went on, the audience started to realise these things because they were repeating. And so by the end, they were really enjoying the fact that they could see the mechanism of how it was all working together.
That's our performance one done.
That was a really lovely episode. I learned a lot.
Did you?
I
What did you
did.
learn?
I just learned why you do it. You know?
Why these stupid actor? Why do you do this thing?
I did.
Actors are pretty amazing.
Thank you so much to those lovely actors who shared their experiences with us. Anna, Fiona, EJ, and Terry O'Donovan.
I'm still here. If there's any actors out there listening and you've got any questions about it, get in touch at Dante or Die.
If you want to know more about our work, just head to our website, danteordie.com. It's all in there.
That's it.
That's it.
Laters.
Bye.
This has been a Dante or Die podcast.
Thank you to our producers, Marie Horner and Erica McCoy.
And for the music by Yaniv Friedel. And our brilliant Dante team, Caitlin, Lucy, Sophie and Catherine.
The podcast was recorded at Phoenix Court and Soho Sonic Studios.
And it's been funded by Arts Council England.